Hello students, welcome back to your history class. So last we did the manorial estate and I had told you all to write down either a, a paragraph, about the time of that time or a dialogue between two people or maybe draw something or, dress up in those kind of clothes or, that era and speak about it. Something of that sort. I had told you all to do something that will depict the manorial estate. Now, a few more points about the manorial estate was the manor was the lowest unit of administration in the feudal system of Europe. An estate given to the lord, which contained vast territories with a number of villages inside it, and it had almost all kinds of villages inside, all kinds of resources inside the manor. So inside the manor, you would find a church, you would find a workshop, a watermill, everything. All the villages were also inside it. So this is a picture of a feudal manor. You can draw this picture also if you have not done the work till now. You can draw this and you can write about the manorial estate below it. Okay. Then there were rights given to those lords. That is, they could raise the troops, which were known as feudal levies, and they had the right to mint coins also. These rights were given to those lords who owned the manors. Okay. Then we come to knights, which is another distinctive group in the second order. The first one was the nobility. The second one in the second order was the manorial estates and the manors and the lords. And the third one is the knights. Now, from the 9th century, there were frequent localized wars in Europe. The amateur peasants, soldiers, were not sufficient, and the good cavalry was needed. So this led to the growing importance of a new section of people known as knights. I repeat, towards the 9th century, local wars in Europe started to increase. Okay, and those amateur peasants, those were the soldiers. Okay, they were not sufficient anymore. We needed a good cavalry, we needed trained soldiers. And so it led to the importance of knights. They were linked to lords just as the lords were linked to the king. The lords gave the knight a piece of land which was called fief and promised to protect that piece of land. And the fief could be inherited, so it could be given to the children of those knights. The fief could be inherited. It extended to anything from 1,000 to 2,000 acres or even more than that. And it included a house for the knight and his family, a church, and other establishments to house his dependents, besides a watermill and a wine press, as in the feudal manor. So it became a feudal manor. The feudal manor that we spoke about here, this was given to the knight. In exchange, the knight had to fight for him. Okay, and he was given the security that we will protect this for yourself and it can be passed on to your children. Okay, the land of the fief was cultivated by peasants, and in exchange, the knight paid his lord a regular fee and promised to fight for him in the war. To keep up the skills of the knight, the knight spent time each day fencing and practicing tactics with dummies. A knight might serve more than one lord, but his foremost loyalty was to his own lord. So these knights, they were given a piece of land which was called fief, and this fief had a house for him and his family. It had a church, it had watermill, it had wine press, it had all the things that a person would require. The peasants cultivated the land of the fief, and a knight could serve more than one lord, but his loyalty was fiercely towards the lord that was his. In France, from the 12th century, minstrels traveled from manor to manor, singing songs which told stories. partly historical, partly invented, and these were all stories about the brave kings and knights. When not too many people could read and manuscripts were also very few, these traveling stories were very, very popular. Many manors had a narrow balcony above the large hall where people of the manor gathered for meals. This was the minstrel's gallery from where the singers entertained nobles while they feasted. So, uh, this was all about the second order, that is the knights. So over here, I want you all to draw a picture of knights in your notebooks, and inside the picture or besides the picture, I repeat, inside or beside, the choice can be yours. I want you all to write down at least 6 points regarding the knights that are very, very important. 6 sentences or 6 points that are very, very important. Now we come to the third order, that is the last order, which is peasants. Yes? Okay. So basically now we come to the third order, the peasants. Yeah, so the third order was the peasants. Now, the vast majority of people, namely those who sustained the first two orders, are the peasants. The cultivators were of two kinds. There were free peasants and then there were serfs. Serf is, serf is taken from the verb term to serve. Now, free peasants, they held their farms as tenants of the Lord. Okay. And the men had to render military services at least 40 days every year. And the peasant families had to set aside certain days of the week, usually 3, but often more, where they would go to the Lord's estate and work there. That means two things. These men, firstly, they had their farms, but they were considered, these farms were also considered as the tenants of the Lord. That means they were, they although they held their land, but still they had to give money, they had to pay rent to the Lord. In return of these, farms, what they had to do is, one, they had to give military service, that is minimum of 40 days every year. Number two, they had to set aside certain days of the week. Probably, most efficient would be 3 days a week, but many places it was more than 3 days a week. And these days they would go to the Lord's estate and they would work at Lord's estate. Now, output from such labor was called labor rent. That means they were paid for it. And they would go directly to the Lord. In addition, they could be required to do other unpaid labor services like digging ditches, gathering firewood, building fences, repairing roads and buildings. Okay. Besides helping in the fields, women and children also had to do many other tasks. They had to spun thread, weave cloth, they made candles, they pressed grapes to prepare wine for the Lord. There was one direct tax called tile that kings sometimes imposed directly on the peasants, and the clergy and the nobles were exempted from paying this tax. And now we will look at the serfs. What did the serfs do? Serfs cultivated the plots of land, but these belonged to the Lord. Much of the produce from this land had to be given to the Lord. They also had to work on the land which belonged exclusively to the Lord. They received no wages and they could not leave the estate without the Lord's permission. So they were like basically their slaves. The Lord claimed a number of monopolies at the expense of his serfs. Serfs could use only their Lord. The serfs could use only their Lord's mill to grind their flour, his oven to bake their bread, and his wine presses to distill wine and beer. The Lord could decide whom a serf should marry or might give his blessings to the serf's choice, but on payment of a fee. So basically, serfs were living, I don't even think the free peasants were living a very happy life, but serfs were definitely living a worse life. So basically, the vast majority of people belonged to uh, serfs to the third order. They were peasants. Peasants were divided into two parts: free peasants and serfs. Now, what I want you all to do for this part of uh, notes is I want you all to write the difference between free peasants and serfs in your notebook. Okay. Now, unpaid labor services for lords, usually 3 days in a week, was given by free peasants. The men had to render military services for 40 days, and women and children also had to work. Direct tax imposed on peasants by the king was called taille. Okay, now we come to England. England. Feudalism developed in England from 11th century. The Angles and the Saxons from Central Europe, they had settled in England in the 6th century, and feudalism started to develop in the 11th century. The country's name, England, is a variant of Angle and land. In the 11th century, William, that is the Duke of Normandy, he crossed the English Channel with an army and he defeated the Saxon king of England. From this time, France and England were often at war because of disputes over territory and trade. So from this time, England and France were often found at war with each other. So the name England comes from, it's a modification of the word Angel's Land, England, okay, and it was inhabited by angels. Feudalism developed in the 11th century. Now, William I had the land map and distributed it in sections to 180 Norman nobles who had migrated with him. So he took the land, he made a map, and he divided it into 180 sections of different nobles, of all the 180 nobles that had traveled or migrated with him. The lords became the chief tenants of the king, and they were expected to give him military help. These lords, they had to give military help to the king. They were obliged to supply a certain number of knights to the king. They soon began to give some of their own lands to the knights who would serve them just as they in turn served the king. They, however, could not use their knights for private warfare, which was forbidden in England. Anglo-Saxon peasants became the tenants of various levels of landholders. So this is exactly how the system came to be. Okay, so basically William, that is the Duke of Normandy, he crossed the English Channel with an army and he defeated the Saxon king of England. From that time, France and England have been at war. Then what did William I do is he took the map of England and he divided it into 180 sections, okay, and he distributed this among the Norman nobles that had migrated with him over here. Now, these lords, they were the main lords, they became the chief tenants of the king, okay, and they had to provide the king with knights and they had to provide the king with military support that he needed. So how did they get this military support? Is these lords, they would give their own knights a piece of land as guarantee that your family will, be taken care of, and in return you will have to fight for me and for the king. Like when I send you to the king, you will fight for the king. That was the way this entire system was developed. Okay. Now, which are the factors affecting the social and economic relations? Now, while the members of the first two orders, they saw the social system as a stable and unchanging, there were several processes that were actually transforming the system. Some, such as changes in the environment, were gradual and they were almost imperceptible. Others were more dramatic, like the changes in the agricultural technology and land use. These changes shaped and had an effect on the social and economic ties between the lords and the vassals. So we will examine these processes next week, next class. Okay. So you have two works. One is you're going to draw a picture of knight and write down 6 lines or 6 points besides it. Number two, you're going to do the difference between free peasants and serfs. So with this, I end today's class. Stay home, stay safe, take care, and keep learning. Thank you.